So, hello everyone and welcome to presentation of our paper dealing with the prepress automation. My name is Petr Roudný and I am from the Department of Graphic Arts and Photophysics at the University of Pardubice. Here are our contacts, so if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact us. If you are interested, I can also provide you with my diploma thesis, which is in English and on which our paper is based. So, the work is divided into several parts. There is general description of PDF workflow and available tools for its automation. The research itself concerns a survey on prepress automation in the Czech Republic and, last but not least, automated processing of model prepress tasks where the quality and speed are analyzed and compared. Well, today the processing of a print job in the prepress stage can be highly automated thanks to the full digitalization of all operations from layout up to imaging or printing. For each step, it's possible to choose from a wide variety of software and modules of workflow systems. When it comes to problems in the prepress workflow, the most significant long-term problem is poorly prepared data from graphic designers. Almost 2 decades ago, in a study of GATF and also in a recent survey conducted by the Ghent Work Group, authors reported that many companies encounter errors in PDF files received from customers. So now we are getting to the survey on prepress automation in the Czech Republic, which aimed to find out at what level is prepress among printing companies and how they approach its automation. Well, here you can see the details of the survey. There were 94 companies. Survey was completely online and companies were selected randomly. So, and the overall distribution of participating companies by type of this production can be seen here. So the main part focused on prepress. It started with the question regarding whether and how companies support clients in preparing printing data. The most common answer was that companies support them on a request or when necessary to correct the printing data. With a few exceptions, the results clearly show that the overall lack of attention paid to this area, even though it could reduce, I would say, a significant amount of arising issues. The fact that companies do not sufficiently support clients reflect that almost every respondent encounters poorly prepared printing data, and almost half of the respondents reported that this happens in approximately 1/3 of cases. There are also other common problems related to communication with clients, as you can see. I think that I can state that not much has changed in this respect in the last 18 years. When we focus on the frequency of selected problems, the most common problem is the problem with bleed. When analyzing how time-consuming is to solve individual issues, the highest number of respondents can solve the problems in 1 to 10 minutes, but it was found out that some respondents indicated a shorter time than they really need. As you can see, more time consuming is to deal with the missing data for processing steps such as varnish or cutting paths and problems with transparency or its flattening. The most significant delays are caused when the printing data do not match with the delivered proof, when PDF files cannot be opened and processed, and when raster images have the wrong resolution or format. Regarding the prepress workflow systems, the largest group of respondents do not use any workflow system, but only independent applications and modules from different producers. Of the workflow systems itself, the Heidelberg Prinect with 11 respondents is the most widely used. Other workflow systems are relatively balanced. The situation among printing companies seems quite satisfying. I mean, the answers suggest that almost every second company uses a prepress workflow system. For pre-flight, the most used applications are Adobe Acrobat and Focus Pitstop Pro. Almost a quarter of respondents only perform a visual inspection of the data, which can be problematic. Although almost half of the respondents stated that they use a workflow system, only 13 respondents stated that they use a built-in pre-flight in this workflow system. It indicates that companies do not use all the features of workflow systems because it's typical for them to use built-in pre-flight. Also, Kala's PDF Toolbox desktop is very little used, probably because there is no reseller of this software on the Czech market. Well, it's worse with coverage of other parts except pre-flight, which also suggests that printing companies do not use the potential of workflow systems because modules for these parts of prepress also exist. Only 2/3 of all respondents reported basic operations such as raster image processing or imposition. Other parts are covered even less. I would like to say that digital printers generally have the lowest workflow coverage. Overall, software coverage could be at a higher level, at least in my opinion. For example, the online approval workflow or mediated pre-flight are quite little used. Well, concerning the ways of simplifying routine work in prepress, predefined actions such as action lists, fix-ups, and so on, including batch processing, are used most often. But as you can see, it's still used by a small percentage of respondents. Well, other automation options are used even less. Finally, I'd like to mention that some respondents misunderstand or confuse the concepts such as workflow system, ICC versus pre-flight profile, and so on. So I think that the education on the side of printing companies and higher expertise of graphic designers could improve the situation. In the next part, we selected 3 problems and we tried to solve and automate them in different ways using various software. Well, for processing, we selected the following solutions. 3 applications and 2 workflow systems that implement these applications. For demonstration, problems with bleed and with printer marks were selected as the most common problems. From the problems taking the longest time to solve, the problem with processing steps such as missing cutting paths or elements for varnishing was chosen. So the first thing is are printer marks. There are generally 2 ways to remove printer marks. By removing all printer marks or objects, for example, outside the bleed box, or by changing the boundary boxes. Important is that different applications offer different options. The workflow systems can either use the profile created in these applications, or they also offer their own options. I'd like to mention that this was only the only tested issue that could be solved in Adobe Acrobat. The second thing is bleed. I think a bleed can be preceded by a pre-flight that determines whether the bleed is used in a document. Bleed is most often added by mirroring the content or enlarging the image. However, a method such as repeating the last pixel can also be used in Kala's PDF Toolbox. And the last thing is creation of a new design element. When creating a new graphic element for varnishing or cutting, it's first necessary to select the given element in the image. There are more ways. If the element is a part of complex graphics, the selection by size seems to be the best, which is possible in both PDF Toolbox and Pitstop. The size can be also set to variable values. Selecting isolated images is much easier. Isolated, I mean like on a white background. Next, it's needed to create the element. Here, as you can see, the options differ as well. This is followed by conversion to a shape or outline, creation of a new layer or spot color, overprint, and so on. These things are quite easier. Well, very briefly, in terms of automation options, Adobe Acrobat and Pitstop offer only step-by-step operations. In PDF Toolbox, even complex workflows can be created using process plans that offer, for example, file splitting during processing or even imposition. The advantage of Adobe Acrobat and PDF Toolbox is also the possibility of batch processing. It's something what Enfocus Pitstop doesn't offer. As can be seen here, file splitting is much easier in both workflow systems. Their approach is very similar in this case, although FreeFlow Core is more suitable for digital and also offset printing companies, while ESCO Automation Engine is more suitable for packaging companies. Well, in terms of speed, interestingly, Pitstop is fast when processing vector objects, but slow when creating raster objects. With PDF Toolbox, the processing time results are more balanced. Another advantage is that the application of, for example, cutting paths can be performed even after nesting. However, the speed of processing in workflow systems is also affected by processing channels. Regarding quality, I'd like to point out that in some cases, Calas PDF Toolbox creates a raster bleed, so it's good to pay attention to it. You can see raster bleeds in the frame. Enfocus Pitstop always creates a bleed according to the data type. Well, for complex objects, the automatically created path may be inaccurate or complex, which can cause problems with further processing. Unfortunately, it's not possible to significantly simplify the paths in these applications. So I'd like to say that this work helped to gain insight into the current situation in prepress and its automation in the Czech Republic. This work shows that more attention should be paid to prepress. Printing companies often invest in new machines, but they don't want to invest so much in suitable prepress automation tools. As I already said, it would also be appropriate to think about how graphic designers are educated in data preparation and how much printing companies help them with that. It's also worth to mention that the workflow systems always implement the new technology with some delay. In conclusion, I'd like to say that innovation in prepress comes very fast, and if the printing company wants to keep up with the competition, it should keep an eye on this market. Only during the writing of my diploma thesis, several new applications appeared and many were updated. So that's everything. Thank you for your attention and enjoy the rest of the day.